Greetings, math fans. All right, so today's topic is more factoring, but what we're going to do is factoring trinomials. That's kind of the main thing here. Okay, so factoring trinomials. And remember, trinomial is like an x squared. Here, let's just start out with a problem here. It's x squared plus 9x plus 20. All right, so you guys remember back in the day, you actually started out the problem with something foiled, right? If something was foiled, like x plus 3 and x minus 4, you would actually foil it out: x squared minus 4x plus 3x minus 12. Combine like terms, you get x squared minus x minus 12. Now what you're going to do is you're actually going to be given this, and you're going to go back to that. Okay, so you're going to have two sets of parentheses in your factoring. So there's a nice little friendly method that the whole math department is actually using, which is kind of good, and it's called the X method. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to use it. It's pretty easy. This lesson is actually pretty straightforward in that there's you see this x squared, there's a 1 here. So I'm going to draw the 1 in there. The next lesson is actually going to be something other than 1. Okay, so it's just a little bit more work. But again, let's just start out with the 1 there. Okay, so this is basically how it works. You take that 1, the x squared number, that 1 there, and you take the 20. So you take those two numbers and you multiply them. So you multiply them, and that number comes out to be, so I'm going to put it in a different color here, that comes out to be 20. Okay, and then what you do is that's at the top of the x. And then see that 9, the 9x, write that 9 there. You're going to write 9 at the bottom of the x. Okay, so that's the setup for it. And then what you're going to do is, once you have those numbers, the question you're going to ask yourselves is, what multiplies to equal 20 that adds or subtracts, depending on if there's a minus or plus, to equal 9. So you always are going to start with the 21st, and you're going to put you're just going to think of different numbers. So there are a lot of numbers here. So let's kind of write some of the numbers here. Do you guys agree? Number like the 20 and 1, 20 times 1. Okay. Also 10 times 2, and also 5 times 4. Now those are the only combinations. So don't tell me 4 times 5, because 5 times 4 is the same as 4 times 5. Okay? So one of these combinations, in this case, they're both positive, the 20 and the 9. So that means the numbers are going to be positive. But one set of numbers is going to add to 9. We already know that it's going to multiply to 20 because we figured it out. 20 times 1, 10 times 2, 5 times 4. But one of those sets of numbers is going to equal 9. And that set of numbers is the 5 and the 4. Okay, 5 times 4. All right. Once you have established that, you're almost done with the problem. The answer to this problem now is x plus 5 times x plus 4. Okay? So that's what this factors to. So if I would FOIL this out, it's an easy way to check it. If I'd FOIL it out, I get x squared plus 4x plus 5x plus 20. So I combine like terms, I get x squared plus 9x plus 20. Okay, you don't have to do this. This is just an optional thing, just to check it, because truly, this, math fans, is your this is your answer. Okay, so I just want to do a few more examples with you guys, and it really isn't difficult, but I want to do some with some different signs and whatnot. All right. So again, this is all going to be factoring. So it'll say factor, and you'll see here's one, x squared minus 9x plus 18. So again, I'm going to put a 1 here, and I'm going to multiply these two together. So once again, tomorrow might be a 2 or 3 or 4, and then you're going to still multiply those together. So we get 18. Then you're going to draw an x, so the 18 is always at the top of the x, and you're going to put the negative 9 on the bottom. Okay? And then again, you're going to say what numbers multiply to give you 18. Well, you know, you could say 18 and 1. After a while, you kind of get good at picking the numbers because you see what numbers need to multiply to give you 18, but then you kind of see, well, what numbers do I really need that add or subtract to give me negative 9? Now, if you notice, math fans, the numbers are all, it's 18 here, right? So in order to get a negative 9, the numbers have to be negative. So, because think about it, a positive times a positive is, so positive times a positive is a positive. And also a negative times a negative is a positive. Okay, so that means both these numbers have to be negative. So kind of almost ignoring that, let's just look at some numbers. 18, we'll do a couple of them. 18 and 1, 9 and 2, and 6 and 3. And those are the only combinations that give you 18. Right? So think about it, they both have to be negative. So if I would put a negative in front of each of these, which is fine, okay, which one gives you negative 9 when you add them together? Or in this case, it's like you would say negative 18 minus 1, and negative 9 minus 2, and negative 6 minus 3. So if you hopefully look at this, you'll see negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9. So that means the answer to this problem is x minus 6 times x minus 3. And that would give you the correct answer. Okay? So it's not bad. All right, let's try, I got a few more I want to do with you guys. Here's another one for you. X squared minus x minus 12. Okay, so I'm going to put a 1 here and multiply these together. That gives me negative 12. Watch your signs. Okay, and then this is negative x, so it's negative 1. So now, what numbers give you negative 12? Well, again, let's ignore the negative for now. Just understand that it can be 12 and 1, it can be 6 and 2, and it can be 4 and 3. Those are the only combinations that give you 12. So one of the numbers, though, has to give you, since this is negative here, math fans, so this is negative here, okay, one of those numbers has to be, one has to be positive, one has to be negative. Because think about it, if I want to multiply a negative times a positive, or a positive times a negative, that gives me a negative number. And that's what I'm looking for. This has got to be negative. So one of these negative. So basically I'm subtracting. So if you think about it, 12 minus 1 is 11. That's not good. 6 minus 2 is 4. That's not good. I need a 1. 4 minus 3 is 1. Oh, that's good, but I need negative 1. So which one is negative? Okay, you guys should say, oh, well, that one's negative because negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. So those are my answers. So the answer is x minus 4, x plus 3. Okay? Okay. So again, this is practice. You just got to do the homework and you just got to practice this in order to be successful with this stuff. Okay? So let's do a couple more here. And again, when you get it, you're done. You're fine. But if you really want to see a few more examples to make sure you know what you're doing, maybe you write this down, you pause it, you try it, and you see if you get the same example or same answer I did, right? Okay, so I'm going to put a 1 here. So 1 times negative 28 is negative 28. Okay, we're going to make an x and negative 3 here. So think logically. I mean, I could put 28 and 1, but 28 and 1, if this was like a 29 here, or really a 27, then yeah, you want some big numbers. You want 28 and negative 1, right? But it's not. Okay? It's not. It's, in fact, think about it. 28, even 14 and 2 is not good, right? Think of numbers that give you 28. You guys are smart kids, and you know your multiplication tables. So think about what multiplication will give you, what numbers multiplied to give you 28 when you add or subtract. In this case, subtract will give you 3. Well, do you guys agree it's 7 times 4? Okay, so 7 minus 4 is 3. So this one has to be negative. Negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3. So I didn't have to write them all out. You could, but I didn't need to. So my answer for this problem is x minus 7, x plus 4. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, so let's try another one here. X squared. So x squared minus x minus 30. So again, put a 1 here. So that gives you negative 30. Draw your x. So that's negative 1 here. Now again, 30 and 1, that doesn't really make sense. 15 and 2 doesn't make sense. What numbers multiply to give you 30? You say, well, 10 and 3? No, because 10 minus 3 is 7. If that was a 7, that would be good. But this is a 1. So think what numbers are kind of close to each other, right? So again, think logically. What numbers are close to each other where if you add or subtract them, in this case subtract, give you 1? Well, 6 and 5. And so which one's negative? The 6 is, because negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. So there we go. X minus 6, x plus 5. Okay? Okay, let's try another one here. So x squared plus 9x plus 8. So again, there's a 1 and 8, so that's 8. And then you draw an x, and there's a 9 here. Now that makes sense. Now you could say 8. Well, what is 8? You could say 4 and 2. But again, think logically, guys. It's got to be 9. It's got to be a big number. So it's got to be 8 and 1. And since they're both positive, it's positive 8 and positive 1. So my answer for this problem is x plus 8, x plus 1. Okay? Let's try one right here next to it. X squared minus 6x minus 16. So put a 1 there. That gives you negative 16. Draw your x. So this is negative 6. And you get what numbers multiply to give you 16? Well, 4 and 4, but 4 plus 4 or 4 minus 4 doesn't give you 6. What about 8 and 2? Yeah, that's good. 8 minus 2 is 6, but I need negative, so one of these has to be negative, and it's this one, because negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. So your answer for this problem is x minus 8 and x plus 2. Okay? I'll do 2 more with you guys, and then we'll be done. Okay, so we get x squared minus 10x plus 24. So that gives you 24. Draw your x. That gives you negative 10. Okay, so what numbers give you 24? Well, again, they both have to be positive or both negative. In this case, they're both negative because this is negative 10. So think of numbers that add to give you 10, and then we'll throw the negatives in at the end. Well, 8 and 3, yeah, that's not good. 8 plus 3 is 11. What else? Oh, 6 and 4. Yeah, 6 plus 4 is 10, but they're both negative. So it's x minus 6, x minus 4, and you're done. Okay? All right, and last one. Okay, so x squared minus 5x minus 24. So put a 1 there. That gives you negative 24. Draw the x and negative 5. Okay, so one has to be positive, one has to be negative. Because of this negative right here, they have to be one or the other. Okay? Well, again, what gives you 24? 6 and 4 doesn't work because 6 minus 4 is 2. 8 and 3. Oh, 8 and 3 is good because 8 minus 3 is 5. But that one's negative. So it's negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. So we're good to go. X minus 8 and x plus 3. Sweet. Okay? So that is called the X method for factoring trinomials. Our next lesson, we're going to do something where the coefficient is not equal to 1. 2, 3, 4 could be anything else, but it's not equal to 1. Okay, math fans? Hopefully you guys are good to go with our start of factoring trinomials. Have an outstanding day. Adios. Goodbye.